Terrifier 3 follows Sienna Shaw as she and her brother attempt to rebuild their lives 5 years after Art the Clown's massacre. As the holiday season approaches, they try to embrace the Christmas spirit and leave the horrors of the past behind. But soon enough, Art returns, determined to turn the festive cheer into a nightmarish bloodbath. So this film was directed by Damien Leone, and it stars Lauren Lavera, David Howard Thornton, Elliot Fulham, Antonella Rose, and Samantha Scafidi. Although I'm not a fan of the first Terrifier, I really love Terrifier 2. So I was hoping that this third installment would retain what made part 2 so great while still building upon it. And it absolutely does. Terrifier 3, to me, is pretty safely the best of the bunch. It is fantastic. And the first of many things that I loved about Terrifier 3 is David Howard Thornton's performance as Art the Clown. I don't think it's too early to say that he's a modern day icon at this point. Like, seriously, he will go down in history books as one of the great horror villains. And it's all credited towards David Howard Thornton's performance. It's not the fact that it's a clown killing people. It's the fact that it is a silent performance. It's a mime performance where David Howard Thornton gets every bit of expression out of his body as he can without using his voice at all. His mouth, the way he smiles, his eyes, his eyebrows, he really lifts them up at points, and other parts like where he uses his hands to do little gestures. He's so entertaining to watch. He's so silly. He's such a little rascal. But he is absolutely terrifying too. He just walks around with a smile on his face as he does the most horrible, disgusting things ever. Like, to the point that it is disturbing to watch. You're just like, how is he doing this shit with a smile on his face? And then, you got people screaming and crying in pain because they're all mangled, and he's sitting there doing his fucking boo with the slow violin, or, crying like that. Just mocking them. He is simultaneously hilarious and terrifying. David Howard Thornton gives one of the best silent performances I've ever seen. He had the theatre busting into laughter at points and shrieking at other points. This is his best work yet. And that's a high bar, because him in Terrifier 2 was incredible. You also have Lauren Lavera return here as Sienna Shaw. She was fantastic in part 2. A really great final girl. And part 3 just continues her character on so smoothly, so nicely. It feels like she hasn't missed a beat. She's even better here than she was in 2. And it manages to subvert expectations in certain ways. Like, you kind of think you know where you're going. You think, the first, or Terrifier part 2 is a kind of the Nancy Thompson, Sienna Shaw era of Nightmare on Elm Street part 1. And then you'd kind of expect Terrifier 3 to be the Dream Warriors, the kind of fight back. Which it is, but it doesn't just follow that template. I'm not going to get into it, but it does its own unique thing with her character. She's not just mad and up for vengeance, which she is, but it does more with her. It makes her stand out amongst other final girls. She's broken, she's beat, she's scarred, she's compelling. I heard an interview with her where she said she kind of gave a bit of a Mia Allen flavour, which is the final girl from the Evil Dead remake from Fede Alvarez, and it absolutely, you can see what she means by that. She really is a broken down, beat character, but she's still compelling, she's still strong, you can still resonate with her. And even though she is just completely broken, she still hooks the audience. You still want to know how she's going to deal with this. You really like her character, the way she's trying to move past things. Long-winded way of saying that Lauren Lavera is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see more of her in the future. I really liked all the other characters in this film too. I really liked Sienna's auntie and uncle. Her cousin, Gabby, I also really liked. She was immature, and I could see her character rubbing people the wrong way. But at the same time, she is still a kid. She feels like a real, actual kid. She doesn't feel fake or anything like that. She doesn't feel like she's just annoying for the sake of it, and you do really end up caring for her, even if at first you might be a little bit turned off by how overexcited she is. Her relationship with Sienna is a real emotional anchor to the film. Goes without saying, the Carnage Candy here is nuts. It delivers, and then some. Just when you think that they won't go there, when you're like, That's off limits. They're not going to do that. They do. And then they keep going. It's just like you're like, oh my god, holy shit, I can't believe they're doing this. Almost every single kill here feels like it's its own set piece. It's like, this is what they have fine-tuned and crafted to perfection. The gore is so graphic. The practical effects are so well done. Every single kill in this film is memorable. You are not going to forget a single kill in this film. And going back to what I was saying earlier about the way this film goes there and potentially oversteps some boundaries, it manages to do so in a way that is tasteful and not unpleasantly gratuitous. It does so many fucked up things, like really horrific things, without ever being in poor taste, which is a tough tightrope to walk. Don't get me wrong, it's still nasty and horrific, and it will make you look away from the screen and you will laugh uncomfortably. But it handles the potential sensitive subjects very deftly in a way that is, as I said, tasteful and never feels gratuitous or just like where you're watching something like Martyrs or The Human Centipede and you're just like, I don't think so. One of the things that I loved about Terrifier 2 that they certainly carry over here is the throwback synth score. It's got a bit of a modern edge to it, but it also has that 80s grindhouse synth sound to it. It's got a real rumbling synth bass that goes through just about the entire film. And I loved it. There are some parts of the score that are actually stuck in my head right now. And I love it when movies have... I'm a big muso, love music, and I love it when films can capture a sort of bygone era with music. I noticed they did it with Salem's Lot really well, and Terrifier 3 absolutely recaptures the kind of Nightmare on Elm Street-ish kind of music. I really love it. This film also expands Sienna's character quite a bit. It gets those breadcrumbs that were left in the second film about who her father might be and expands upon it. And interestingly enough, the father is played by Jason Patric, who was Michael in The Lost Boys. And funny enough too, Sienna's dad is actually named Michael, so I thought that was just a fun casting callback. But anyway, you get to know more about him and who he was. Without going into spoilers, I really like the way they expanded that, but they still leave room for more. There's also some more themes that they explore here. The film has a surprising biblical edge, which might sound completely out of nowhere, but it surprisingly works. I don't want to talk too much about it here. Maybe it's a potential topic for a spoiler video in the future. And going along with that, it leaves a perfect amount hanging for future installments where I'm dying to see what they do in the next film now. But it doesn't feel like they didn't wrap it up enough. I was satisfied with what I got, but I'm still hanging out for what's going to come next and to learn more about this lore and the fantastical elements that were introduced in 2. Really crazy stuff. They managed to rope it in and pay it off in a really satisfying way. But as I said, still leaving room to do whatever the hell they do next, and I cannot wait to see it. Now, as far as negatives for this film, I really don't have that much. I got basically everything that I wanted out of Terrifier 3. I really, really loved it. But if I'm going to be honest, there are some things that I do have to criticize. And the main one for me is Jonathan's character. I really liked him in Terrifier 2, but he sort of takes a bit of a back seat in this film in a way that makes sense, but it's also disappointing. I also wanted to see more of him. Like, he probably gets maybe 5-10 minutes of screen time in this film because him and Sienna have drifted apart. I just wish that there was more done with him. And lastly, this isn't a huge issue for me, but I do still feel like that 2 hours and 5 minutes is a tad bit long. I feel like this could have lost maybe 5 minutes. Just even in the first act, there's a fair bit of fat there that certainly isn't meaningless or pointless. It's just, it would be nice to have a little bit of a tighter film. And I think that's what they're going to do for the future installments. I think Damien Leone actually said that. So overall, Terrifier 3 is a horror fan's wet dream. It is gross. It is gory with plenty of dark humor. You'll squirm, you will laugh uncomfortably, you will have a great time. Terrifier 3 is worth watching and worth buying. Thanks so much for watching my review of Terrifier 3. Today's review is a little bit scattered. I'm a little bit all over the place because it's not the kind of film you can just come home and write about. It's the kind of one where you're just kind of like in for the ride. So bit of a sporadic review today, but look forward to my review of Smile 2, which should be coming out tomorrow, and I'll see you all later. Bye.